one of the most terrifying villains the Avengers have ever encountered in the comics. One that was marketed in all the trailers to have the darkest story, the most aura, the scariest aura. Probably the most powerful villain the Avengers ever came across. And what did we get? Did we get anything even close to that? Or did Marvel fumble the bag? There's only one clear answer to this. One little fix that could have changed it all for the better. I'm gonna be very fair here, okay? I actually do like Age of Ultron quite a bit more. I'm not gonna be one of these guys who just actively shits on the film and thinks it's the worst MCU film. No, it's not. Do I think it's better than the first Avengers film? I don't know, probably not, but the first Avengers film has not aged that gracefully in my opinion. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and it's better than the current post-Endgame schlop we're getting from the MCU now. I don't even think that can be debated, okay? The Hulk versus the Hulkbuster fight scene. Pretty much most of the action in this movie is great, but this fight, it has aged so goddamn well, for God's sakes. Vision, before he became a walking ragdoll in Infinity War and became Wanda's reason for being an absolute moron throughout the universe, right? He was a G. He was a G. The way he got brought back by the stone and turned on Ultron because he saw the graceful side of humans. The way he was acted, with his dialogue, his aura in this film was amazing, for God's sakes. I loved all the action with Captain America too. Listen, Captain America putting up a fight against Ultron, I know a lot of people would hate that, but honestly, I'm a big Captain America stan. The fact that I got to see him throwing tornado kicks at a goddamn robot, Ultron gave me that, man. I got to see Captain America spear Ultron into a train, okay? Hawkeye. No one gave a shit about Hawkeye in the first movie. I actually kind of liked that they gave him some backstory. I like that we got to see the Avengers in his family home, okay? I thought that was pretty funny. I liked Hawkeye as like the motivator for Wanda to join a lot in this, okay? I liked the scene in Sokovia right when the SHIELD ships come to start rescuing people, and Captain America and Black Widow were about to completely sacrifice themselves, you know, to stay on this floating city that's about to explode, because Captain America says, we're not leaving until everyone here is saved and rescued. I love that scene. I love little hopeful scenes like that, you know? I like the ending where they're basically kind of a new Avengers is formed because everyone else is either retiring and Thor's leaving and all that shit. I really like that, okay? I love James Spader as the voice of Ultron. We're gonna get to this, okay? Because he brought so much to this character with his voice. I loved him, okay? I loved the final scene. One of my favorite low-key scenes in the MCU. Vision and Ultron's final scene, where Ultron calls him unbearably naive, and Vision's like, I was born yesterday. And he tells Ultron that there is grace in the failure of humans, and that Ultron missed that in his mission to destroy them. This is such a good scene of dialogue. They cooked here. They cooked here, all right? Now we got some issues. We have to address these issues because there was an amazing film here, okay? There's too much shit happening in this. You got these two twins and their subplot storyline. I understand the importance of these two. I never understood why they were in the film, but I understand that Wanda is very important for setting up not only the events that happened with Tony and his creation of Ultron, but Civil War, Infinity War. She's very important for the storyline, okay? Listen, the movie lost his balls with him because it didn't want to kill anyone off. It decided to kill off the one newbie that we just know, and to be honest, we don't really care about, right? He really serves no purpose but that, okay? It is doing this whole Infinity Stone subplot where Thor journeys into a cave or some shit to see a vision into the stones or whatever for Ragnarok. It's so fucking stupid, okay? Vision. We've got to set up Vision as well. On top of this, you've got Hulk and Black Widow with one of the worst romance storylines of all time. I hate this romance. Stop this, Marvel. Stop forcing in romance. There's no chemistry between them. I don't understand why they're even together, okay? I'm not saying Black Widow can't be in love with like a nerd who's a goofball like Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner, because everyone around her is like a warrior, a badass, right? I actually like that dichotomy. The problem is she's in love with him from the get-go. There's no build-up to it. There's no chemistry there either. I don't like it. Just get the hell off my screen. Ultron. There is so much limited time for Ultron to develop as a villain. There's nothing to him. Think about the trailers. There are no strings on me. Think about almost all the aura, how badass he was in the trailers. Now what do we get? What do we get now? This dude's cracking jokes about omelets and shit, saying, I can't physically throw up in my mouth. You know, he's saying all these quippy remarks, personality. There's Tony Stark infused into him, and he despises Tony Stark a lot, by the way. He wants his head on a plate. So I understand the point of this, but come on. There's something off here, okay? And his motivation is literally like Apocalypse is in X-Men Age of Apocalypse. He surfs the internet for 5 minutes and decides, okay, humanity needs to get destroyed. And listen, I understand that motivation a lot. Any fucking alien that comes down to Earth wants to nuke humanity. They just need to go on Twitter or TikTok, and it's over. We're screwed, okay? I didn't mind that he had a personality instead of just being a stale robot. I didn't mind that. The problem is, this movie's called Age of Ultron. If your story is called Age of Ultron, that tells me that this is not just a one-off villain. This is an epic, expansive story, for God's sakes, okay? Instead, we got them one of the most underwhelming villains we've ever had. Why? How? We know why. Marvel was trying to set up the big guy. All right, Thanos is our man. Thanos is the villain everything's leading towards. We can't have Ultron be too big of a badass because that would ruin the setup for Thanos. Okay, I understand it. You still could have done this much better, okay? I'm not saying you have to be like What If, where Ultron nuked all the Avengers and literally cuts Thanos in half and takes the Infinity Stones and rules the galaxy. I'm not saying that shit. That Ultron was a different level of entity altogether, okay? That guy don't play. But Ultron in the comics, he's that guy. He's literally that guy. And he has the most inconsistent power levels in this film too. We need to see Ultron in one of his best forms in this, okay? We need to see Ultron literally not only be able to destroy all the Avengers in a physical fight, but when he hacks into all the surrounding technology, it needs to be a horror movie almost. It needs to be like The Thing, except instead of assimilating humans, it's assimilating all the technology. And that's the fear. If one thing escapes and hacks into one little laptop or cell phone somewhere, you're screwed, you're fucked. I didn't get that fear from this movie. Even though it happened, like this hacking shit where Ultron's hacking the nuclear launch codes and all that, we see it, but we don't feel anything. It feels like an episodic TV of a show rather than a goddamn culmination event, all right? His army, they're like cannon fodder robots. They should be like the goddamn fucking Terminators. That's the fear we should get from them. Why? I get it. Hank Pym created Ultron in the comics. If we're going with the whole Tony Stark's doing that with Bruce Banner here, that's fine. We needed more build-up. He's created in literally like 2 minutes, okay? And we need a better motivation here. I understand so Scarlet Witch showed him the hallucination, the vision of the Avengers dying. That's his motivation to do this. Why didn't he use Jarvis instead? Why is he using Ultron? We didn't get enough dialogue to establish this there. We didn't. And this would have delved perfectly into his worldview. If we had more time with Ultron, more time with Tony building him, we would understand Ultron's worldview more. Why robots, why Ultron himself should be the only thing that remains. We didn't fucking get that. This really needed 2 movies. I can't think of a better fix than making this 2 movies. I understand Avengers Infinity War is a 2-parter, so why would we make this a 2-parter? Could they have even afforded to make this a 2-parter? You needed to do it, okay? This story is called Age of Ultron. And Age is not literally, an hour and 30 minutes movie where the villain's barely touched on. No, this story is expansive. You need 2 movies. This is like a multi-chapter film, okay? These 2 need to be split. Wanda and Pietro need to be in the first film so they can be like the center stage antagonist turned protagonist. Vision needs to be set up in the sequel. Vision is a perfect catalyst for the sequel, okay? Here's how it goes. These 2 create Ultron because Tony has that vision, okay? How do they create Ultron? They have arguments about this. Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner literally asked Tony, why don't you use Jarvis as your peacemaker for the entire world, the suit of armor around the target? Just use Jarvis. Tony says, we're dealing with something we don't understand, the Mind Stone. This thing could be the most expansive form of AI the world has ever seen. I'm not going to take my personal assistant, who, let's face it, Tony loves his personal assistant. This is a selfish need of his, right? He wants his personal assistant. I'm not going to give Jarvis this ability because I want to separate Jarvis from what's going to be governing the entire world. Jarvis can't be that. Jarvis needs to be my separation from governing the entire world. So Tony simultaneously is taking his responsibility away from governing the entire world and having his personal assistant. It's a selfish desire, but it's also selfless in a way where he's making sure he doesn't have all the power, because if his personal assistant could govern the entire world, there's going to be a lot of people wondering, okay, does Tony just rule the world at this point, right? We need this kind of dialogue. We need to establish this, okay? Then the rest of the movie plays out similar to what we get, right? Ultron using Wanda and Pietro, him getting his hands on vibranium and getting his final form. And his final form needs to be badass. We need to buy that he can beat the shit out of the Avengers. And the final act will culminating in him whooping the Avengers and taking one of the nukes that the Avengers are not able to stop, blowing Sokovia to hell. In the comic books, he nuked an entire city and killed 3 billion people. And the Avengers lost. We need to go that route. This would perfectly mirror what happened in the first Avengers movie when Tony took the nuke and saved New York and threw it into space, but this time they fail. This time, the consequences of Tony's actions to protect the world have completely backfired. The mirror has been reversed. Sokovia has been destroyed. And that is when the Avengers completely lose. Tony's worst fears have become realized, okay? So the Avengers lose in the first movie, all right? Second movie's redemption time. These are the Avengers. They avenge, right? This is where Vision comes into play. Ultron's ultimate last final form that he wants to transmit himself into so he can rule everything, right? But Vision turns on him. Vision sees the good in humanity, and the Avengers all team up to finally beat Ultron. And Ultron's going to have one of the craziest final forms in this, by the way. I want him to have like some symbiote level form that he can just assimilate everything in his path. That's what we're going to be dealing with here, right? And the Avengers are going to have to team up to stop him. That is the movie. That's your two-parter. That's the age of Ultron. It was such an easy fix. I get it. Forming it into a parters means you have to have more time to film, more production, all that shit, more costs. I get it. But in the service of the story, you need to have that two-parter. There's a freaking dog barking at me right now. I don't know why. This is how you do it. All right? I do love watching Age of Ultron. It's one of the most rewatchable Avengers films to me. Very flawed movie. You can see all the flaws in it when you're watching, but my God, they needed to do this right, all right? If you want to know how the Hulk could be redeemed in an upcoming story through a special presentation lens. If you want to know how we can get the most powerful, strongest version of the Hulk to actually finally come into the MCU and wreak havoc on everyone and be the real Hulk, watch this video here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one Coke line at a time.